hearty welcome to all of you. Nice to see a full hall. How many came day before yesterday? Okay, and the rest came yesterday, or did some come this morning as well? How many came this morning? Okay, good, so everybody is here. All right, so in future, please make my introduction short. It embarrasses me like hell, and I feel very, very old. So, I just wanted to give a couple of messages. For me, the most important one is that this year I will make more visits to the campus than I did last year. I don't know whether it's good for my friends or not, but I look forward to spending more time for a couple of reasons. One of which is that in one of our two companies, which is NIIT Limited, which is 35 years old now, we have a new chief executive who's taken responsibility from 1st of April. And my co-founder, Vijay Thadani, who's also a batchmate from NIIT, he'll be here one of these days. He's the vice chairman and managing director. And I have a less grueling role in that company, and therefore that will ease some time. Also because I think having completed 5 years as an institution, we have done one phase of our development and now getting ready for the next phase of development, where there is going to be much greater emphasis on ideas like entrepreneurship. And so my first question is, how many of you are dreaming of becoming entrepreneurs? How many are definite you don't want to be entrepreneurs? And how many are confused at this time? Okay, that should be the majority. That's a good sign. That's a normal distribution. Okay? And I am not saying that one is better than the other, but those who are in the middle, which is the large number, you have to make your choice and make the choice that is good for you, because entrepreneurship is not the only thing the country needs. But it is something the country needs very desperately at this time. And so we need to create jobs. It's the country's #1 priority, for which we need to create job creators. And the entrepreneur is a job creator. One who is not an entrepreneur is doing equally important things, right? But the entrepreneur is a job creator. One will create 2, 20, 200, 2,000, 20,000 jobs. And why I insist on this one thing is that all of you come out of school where you've been regulated and controlled by your teachers. They've tried to. Maybe they couldn't manage. They tried their level best. And all of you are now hoping that this place has no controls whatsoever. And actually speaking, this phase of life, the college life, is frankly, when I look back at not only mine but talk to all my friends, is actually in many ways the most intense, most enjoyable, most impressionable, most exciting, most excruciating, most painful, most troublesome phase of life. And therefore, if we say people should live fully, these are the 4 years when you will live and should live more fully than you ever will in the future or you have in the past. So, I go back to entrepreneurship but come back to this main thing on the one or two ideas I want to leave behind. So, entrepreneurship at a rational level is important because it generates jobs. And in this country that's important. But entrepreneurship is also an opportunity to solve some problem which haven't been solved. The effect is employment generation, and that could be a motive in itself, but for the entrepreneur, it's satisfying to know that you created jobs, but it's more satisfying to know that you solved a problem that someone hadn't solved in terms of creating new value. So, looking at the environment, we believe, and looking at the fact that many of our students in third year, fourth year, many more hands go up as you go further in life. We feel that we have to respond to that need as well. And so that is one of the reasons why we would like to bring more people in front of you who are doing that kind of stuff, so you can get a sense of what they do and how they do and why they do what they do. And so that's one reason why I think that I will be spending more time here. There's another reason, and I want to touch on that a little bit. And that is that you all come in with an intent that you want to become a graduate in engineering. So how many in EE? And how many in computer science? Good. So 10 years later and 20 years later, many in this room will be doing things that I will personally be very proud of. So nice to meet you. So you come here with that intent. And many of you came in, hopefully, okay, now truthful question. How many of you really wanted to do a B.tech in computer science? How many did not? Any courageous ones? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should I wait? 7, 8. Should I wait longer? Will it be all hands going up? Or? And it's okay if all hands go up, is the point I want to make. It's okay if during the course of these 4 years, because if I look at my batch of 60 from IIT, only 2 guys remained in engineering. And both did a great job. One of them designs and improves his retired, the clock of the world. The clock, which is the reference clock. He was a chief of technology, but whenever I go and meet him, he would take me to the lab where he was doing work. And there's another guy in India. Everybody else migrated into unknown spaces. And so it's quite okay for you to have a starting point and to believe in that starting point. But I want you to be equally okay to say that what if I find that there is something else which excites me? So I'm troubling you on day 1 to say, what the hell, I worked all these years to get into B.tech computer science. There you are, and you will end up. But I want you to open a couple of windows in your head. One of which is do some studying, because now on Google you can do studying on anything, of what happens to people when they graduate in any university in the world, and what happens to them in their lives. And whoever are your role models, see their path. And you will find that not everybody goes on the straight line, and not necessary that you have to take a departure, but open your mind to new possibilities. So my son, I give an example, IIT Kanpur, went to Microsoft Research, and then after 4 years and 2 patents, went backpacking for a year. I had done 70 days in my time in 1976, so he argued that if you do simple interest of 10%, it becomes a year. So I'll do a year. But he came back and now decided to direct movies in Bombay, which I'm completely confused about. I'm not worried, but confused. Because what success means there is very different from what I know. But every time I meet him, the excitement on his face tells me that he's really having a good time. And when he announced that to me, it was the last leg of his backpacking in October in Mongolia. He started in January. So I said, we had met in June as well. He was that time in Peru, so we went to meet him, family. That time he had said he doesn't want to go to Microsoft. He had kind of given the inkling. And he said that enough of working at a terminal. He had grown up, as you can understand, with an Apple IIc which was gifted to him in class 7 or something. He said, enough of it, I want to do some real stuff. That was his comment, which caught me by surprise. So we talked a bit and he said, maybe I'll get onto a modern shop floor which is doing extensive automation, so I'll see computing at work, engaging with reality. That was his thought. So we talked about it. That was, I think, June. And then September, October, when I met him, he said, I've dropped the idea. I want to direct films. So I said, now you're on your own because I have no advice to give you, but let's talk a bit about how this happened or what's gone in your mind. And then we traced back to many of his interests which were actually sticking out as little signals. So for example, he, when he was preparing for IIT, he got his frustration out by learning the guitar. He says, madness to prepare. So late night he would, so I said, why don't you get a teacher? He said, no, these days you don't need teachers. So on the internet, he tuned his guitar, he borrowed something, he learned. So we could look back and say, okay, he had an interest in something different from just algorithms, for example. Then he went to IIT and he became the head of the music club and then became president in the final year, but he became the head of the music club for 2 years. And then, in our days in IIT, when I was there 67 to 72 in Delhi, Kanpur used to be the place which had the most advanced equipment because they had an American collaboration. You know, IIT, each IIT had a collaboration. So they had a video studio, and what he told me when he went is that it hasn't been upgraded since that time. Because bureaucracy doesn't let things change. So he fought with the director and whatever they did, but he was responsible to upgrade that. So he was involved in buying the camera and so on and so forth. So another strand that we could connect. And then he had gone for a summer training as part of IIT to MIT, Media Lab. And he had gone and done a 1-week course in story writing in Maine, film story writing. So he also hadn't seen those as intense, but he saw those, we could kind of put a story together, and I said then, did we push you to go to IIT like all the parents ask? And all kids, all half say yes, half say no. In his case, he said, no, you didn't, but maybe I just wanted to do the same thing. And so when he went into films, his first question was, have I lost too much time? And what use was my IIT? Will it be useful? And I used to tell him, look, being through engineering education at a good school is never a waste. It builds some mental capacities, some mental disciplines, a rigor, intellectual stamina, and of course a socialization, which is useful in anything you do. And then 2 years after he had started working on the film thing, he actually then could relate how in his team he could do a set of things, he could deal with pressures, he could deal with not sleeping for 2 nights, which none of the others could do. So now he would easily say that, perhaps that was the best phase of his education. So I am saying all this to say that open your mind. You have come from a world which has conditioned the hell out of you. Let me say that. Which has conditioned the hell out of you. If you know the great psychologist Pawar, who worked on animals, and he said you give a dog a bone and the dog responds. Even the millionth time the same way. All of you have pets know that. For a biscuit, a dog will give his life, I don't know why, but they do it. And so Pavlovian behavior was extended into education, unfortunately. Yeah? All of us know that. You behave well, you get a star or a red mark or something. You don't behave well, you stand at the end of the class. So the conditioning that schooling has done for centuries has got us to narrow down our vision and to think of right and wrong differently. On day one, I want to tell you that I wish, and soon we'll have one very famous school teacher will come and do a session called Unlearning 101. You have to unlearn a lot of what you've learned. You have to unlearn a lot of what you've learned. So you are at a threshold of a wide open space where you have to shed a lot of the rules that were drummed into your head. And you have to see this as a wide open space where you can chart your course. Now, of course, your next 4 years are pretty much determined on what you will study, but we have more and more and more electives. So, for example, the 4th year now, getting into the first term, they have almost all electives. And we have companies like IBM and a few others who are saying, we want guys in analytics and we want people who are experts in cybersecurity. So can you load your electives here? Because the last term they have to do, internship, as you people know, will be in these companies. So therefore, in a sense, that worry about getting job interviews and so on and so forth, we want to kill that. We just want to get rid of that. So you heard the word seamlessness by now. Has it come into your ear at least 10 times or not yet? Okay, it will come a million times. and it should stay with you. We want to move to a situation where both your entry, which must have been traumatic for you after school to get into college. Ideally, we want to start engaging with 100-odd schools in class 8 or 9 and give a period of mutual discovery, come and spend time here, see a lab, see something, so you find out what you want. Would that be fun? If you had had a chance to get engaged with NU in class 10 and get a chance to evaluate and figure out, would it have been better than this trauma you went through? Yes or no? How many say yes? Because we're going to take some big decisions based on it. Gradually. How many say that this was the right way to do it, what you went through? 1, 2, 3. So these 3, please come and educate me, because I'm trying to struggle on why the hell should we torture our kids from class 10 to start preparing for an exam rather than learning. We'll talk. I've seen your hand. Please meet me. I will be here often. This year, the problem we're having in engineering schools, and you must have read what came out about IIT Roorkee, that 73 students have to go. And the director said that when they came in, they thought they had reached nirvana. My life's ambition is met, now why should I work anymore? And they flunked, flat on their face. The failures in year 1 of engineering education are worrisome. And there are many reasons, but one of them is that kids are burnt out. And they feel that the biggest mountain they had to climb in life, painful one, is done, so why worry? Instead of that, if you could enjoy your childhood days and do your class and play with friends and do your studies as school bonds or whatever, and get to know by class 11 that this is the university I want to go to, they like me, I like them, I've spent a couple of years. Would that be better? Would that be better? Okay, fine. So we are actually trying to work towards that process where 80% of the students who come in here should have made those choices. So that's another dimension of seriousness. And we want more than 80% going out to have found the job of their choice well before they leave. That's desirable? That you'd love to know right now, isn't it? Okay, it's not right now, but soon enough. We want to start creating this as an important phase in your life, which has no big discontinuity before and no big discontinuity after. So anyway, you arrived here, you have this open landscape, and you're beginning to now say that, okay, B.tech computer science, fine, I don't want to change that at this point in time. But as I get choice for electives, how far away do I want to go from computer science is a choice here. Are they subjects completely aligned to that area? That's fine. Adjacent, distant, very far out. So one message I want to give you is explore the idea of very far out. Because I look at my batchmates, we've all gone very far out. Why not start exploring that early on, then go far out by accident? Just like we came into engineering by accident, perhaps. We don't know. So look at far out, which means you have to do lateral views of what's happening in the world. The school teaches us to be like the horse driving a tonga. Don't look left or right, you'll panic and have an accident. Keep your eyes straight. Here, we want to shed those. We wanted to shed those controls and look left and right. And look at life. Look at what is life. When did anyone last see a bird, weaver bird making a nest? Who saw a weaver bird making a nest in the last 2 years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not bad. So wouldn't everyone else like to see it? How many of you have been into a village school to see how the kids in a little village study? Excellent. This is great. The others who haven't have an opportunity here. How many of you are concerned that there is not going to be enough water on the earth in your time? Our time will slip by. And how many of you want to do something about that? And how many of you know already that we have been told when we bought this land that we will not get any water from outside and that we have to manage with our own water? Now, of course, the Japanese zone is coming, so the water may come, which is good but bad because we'll get spoiled. But today you already are aware that we're trying to do this cycle of nature. You've seen the trees which grow faster when we fertigate, as Kamal may have told you, if not he will tell you. We want you to experience that because that will stay with your life. And then when you become leaders and you're leading teams of people, you will teach them sustainability, not because, because they didn't get a chance to learn it by living it. So when I say life, I'm not talking outside what happens in your classroom. Because obviously what happens in your classroom puts you on a platform. No question. But if I ask my friend, when we sit and say, let's remember college days, and you tell everybody, recite the 3 most interesting moments, and there are 10 guys, so there should be 30 ideas, not one is inside the classroom. Not one. So quite clearly, a lot happens outside the classroom, which shapes us. So I'm not saying don't sit in the classroom then, what's the big point? Right? Sit in the class, that's important, that's the foundation. And I have been actually very demanding of our team here to say everybody should sit into every class. And I have to get a backlash from my own children. But don't miss that opportunity, that's the foundation. But when you go to a great building, do you see the foundation? You don't. But would that stand there if it didn't have a foundation? So your classroom is that foundation. Make it very, very solid. But remember, you go to an interview as a foundation where people are looking for buildings. What will happen? So this is the first and most important message. Open many windows in your mind and look at what looks most remote. And build the mental capacity to build your foundation, not to get distracted, but then grow more than that. So when we talk of 24/7 campus, what are we saying? Class is 6 hours a day, about 18 more. And this generation doesn't sleep from what I can experience with my children. 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. 6 hours. You have a lot of time. And how many of you have grown up in cities? Everybody. Okay, so you're city kids. And you have some diseases which you bring here. If you want to run to a pub, you want to run to a bar, you want to run everyday movie, everyday something. I call it disease because it takes away time for you to work on your own mind by yourself. You're letting something else work on your mind, right? This 4 years, please don't miss the opportunity to recognize that you have a mind which is your own and that you need to spend time with that mind. We have lived mindlessly, we live mindlessly. Which means that be curious, look beyond the subject, make new friends, of course. The best friendship will be made in these 4 years. College days happens to be the age of mind, body and soul where you make the best friends. Open many windows. And as I said, the first window is not to question why you took this course, but to realize that that's a foundation. And a foundation is not enough by itself. But it has to be a rock solid foundation. So every class, every exam, max it, do whatever you have to do. But that is your 1/3 of your day. Another 1/3 is sleeping, eating, habit, whatever. The remaining 1/3 is building yourself out of curiosity. Why is this the way it is? Why is that the way it is? Why does so and so? So that questioning mind. So when we say research driven, you heard the term is like one of the 4 core principles. Immediately you think of a lab, right? When you say research driven, so this is a lab. The lab is not down there. Sitting under a tree and thinking is, the first creation. So we have a lot of trees here. You sit under the trees. We're also trying to create spaces under the tree so you can actually sit under the tree and chat with a close friend and talk about whatever you want to talk about, or a faculty member. So you are here still at an early stage. I remember the first batch and telling the parent that you must be crazy to send your kids here. Today I don't have to say it because some safety is established, some track record is established. But even now you people are, I did a calculation at that time. We had, first batch was how many? Pardon? 19. So I said we have 100 acres divided by 90. How many acres per student? 5 acres. Now we have 1,000, so you have 1/10 of an acre. But when we have 5,000, it will be even less. So you have a lot of nature with you at this time. You have a lot more attention and you have a lot less rule. This institution also, like others, will get more and more rules as time passes. So you have fewer things to break, try and break them. And while I'm asking for trouble here, but break them responsibly. Break them with the intent to innovate or create a new idea, not because, as all of us said, this time to break rules, doesn't matter what they are. Okay? So if you have to be, entrepreneur breaks rules, right? So break rules in that fashion. Someone said, this is a norm, I'm going to break this norm. So break those rules. So have a very free and open mind, think freely, think beyond your subject. Now one thing which we started a couple of years ago, and I want to close with that, is something we call the Asian Lenses Forum. TALF for short. It's a fledgling idea right now. I hope it survives. I think it will. I'm determined to make it survive. So hopefully it will. Now this is an idea which is very important in my head and in the heads of my colleagues. And I have to say I've been badgering it into people's heads. So a little bit of badgering is in order. Then evaluate the idea and throw it if you don't like it. And the idea, so all of you must have read about Narayan comment that IISc went and said nothing new has been done in this institution in spite of all the money given. You read that comment? There's no invention. Okay. And that is actually a very serious issue where we blame many things, but not one of the most important things, and that's what I want to talk about. And that most important thing is that as a country we've had 1,000 years of foreign rule. That much basic history all of you remember. If not, just go back and brush it up on Google. We've had 1,000 years of foreign rule. And of that, the last couple of centuries before 1947 were very intense colonization. And that colonization did many good things for us. We have to be grateful. But it also damaged a few things which each of us individually has to work on. We are all products which have colonized minds. What does that mean? In my time, much less in your time, I feel much more envious of you. My youngest just finished a college. In our time, when someone said this is made in India, it's a crap. This is made in America, it must be good. Or someone does a great job, our people say done a great job, is a bullshit. Some American come and say this kid has done a great job. We say, oh wow, we didn't see. Still happens. That is a colonized mind where we don't have enough faith or belief in the Indian mind. All of you are coming at a time when this debate has become very hot with the BJP government. Okay? And I'm not in favor of one or the other. You have to be dispassionate and view things dispassionately. So this big kind of push that the opposition says that the ruling party is doing is they are trying to build fundamentalism into Indian education. You're reading that all the time. In our days, the opposition used to say the left has taken control of higher education. Take JNU as an example where my daughter is going for a master's now. And we had a great debate on is it a good place, bad place, whatever. So these debates indicate also that we can't say that I have an institution which has an Indian mind. This one has to be one of them. Which is why we did not say partnership with so and so and affiliated to so and so. We don't want a crutch. We want to be us. And I want every one of you to be you. Not what someone from outside praised you about and everybody around you took it seriously, and when your own people praised you had a credibility issue. This is a colonized mind. And we will not get true inventions till such time as we remain a colonized mind. Here in this room upstairs, last year we had, as part of our research, we had a couple of students who've done some very good work, presenting some work they were doing. And the student said, this is what I'm doing, and some very, very inventive stuff. But he said, but I have to get this stuff, some stuff from the US because, we don't make it. He said very condescendingly. I said, hold on for a minute. Now you have two parts to your story. There's a part where you're trying to build something, which I'm very proud about. But there's a part where you have given up, which I'm ashamed of. And I want you to be ashamed of. Because these things we have to invent are ours to build. I'm not saying be Swadeshi, don't import. I'm not even saying that. Let it be open, the best has to win. But we have to aspire to build in more and more areas. And that will never come if you say, will people like what I'm doing? What will so and so say? So when I ask you to spend time with your own self, and I'll use a phrase which I want to stick in your head, is an appointment with yourself. Find time, short, 10-minute appointment with yourself every day, every week, whenever. But think about the issue. That if you imagine yourself to be the inventor of the biggest thing, your first reaction will be, oh, how can I do it? And part of this is coming from the colonized mindset, which society has imposed systematically, not with a bad intent, it just happens. If Indians go and colonize, which we haven't done, we would impose our mindset from our limited view. So this mindset has to be dealt with. I want every NU student over the years to build that independence of mindset where you remove all the glass ceilings or metal ceilings which come because of colonization. So we said therefore that how should we deal with this subject? Because people will say this is social sciences, this is not computer science, this is not that issue which we talk about, right? So we said, okay, we have to start doing things which make it possible for a young Indian to see themselves from the Indian eyes or Asian eyes. So the Asian lens, we debated Indian and Asian, but we said if you go back in history, India was a lot more of what it is. So South Asia could be a word, but we are just tagging her for the moment, the Asian Lenses Forum. So that's a process, a method, a series of things to start a journey to get rid of the contamination in your head, which is a few centuries of colonization of the mind. Now I'm just giving you an abstract idea, but it is my hope, and it's a very strong endeavor that we provide opportunities to our young to start looking at life through a different lens. And we created this, and we have a couple of interesting people, and some of whom will be meeting you over the next few weeks. One, in fact, Mr. Harpal Singh, who is a member of our board. He's the chairman emeritus of the Fortis Group, was in the Tatas earlier, Tata Material Services and so on. And he is one of the people involved in the Asian Lenses Forum. He will actually come here on the 30th and talk to you for an hour on that subject. Also, Arun Maira, who was member of the Planning Commission, earlier chairman of BCG, he will be here actually earlier, he'll be here on the 7th to meet the earlier batch of students. There are about 25 or 30 who have shown a lot of interest. And then a few others. So I have a 2-minute kind of little set of clippings for you to recognize these people and to see them, because they will be getting involved with the Asian Lenses Forum conversation with you. So Onaiza, can you? Yeah. These are at random, so just try and make sense.
What is an Asian lens? Well, let us first ask what is an Indian lens. What is the lens through which an Indian Muslim sees and judges the world around us? Right? What is the lens through which an Indian Christian sees the rest of us? And what about the Hindu Dalit and a Hindu Brahmin? Their views cannot be the same. At the very least, we must accept diversity and tolerate other perspectives. But we must go beyond this. We must learn about our diversity and learn from our diversity. And for this, we must listen to the resistance in our minds when we encounter those with other histories, other countries, and other religions, and therefore other perspectives.
This is a very interconnected world. There's no single domain that now can sit aside and say, no, we don't want to be seen as being interconnected to the larger whole.
But the one thing that really strikes me in my country is blindness. Our lens is actually opaque to poverty, to corruption.
I would really like to see them being a little bit more open, being a little bit more curious, traveling a little bit, stop seeing the rest of Asia as inferior. I also think we have a kind of a racism inbuilt in us, forming of colonial reasons, and because the West is economically ascendant for so long. But we need to break out of this mindset. More than any other post-colonial generation, the new generation has been born at a time of relative plenty, at a time of confidence and optimism, and I hope that all of you can channel this and we can really start seeing the developments of Asian lens.
That's a little commercial for TALF, because computer science students say, what does that have to do with me? Right? So this is something which will help you get a perspective, but more important, I think this alongside your foundation will help you lift, hopefully, help you lift your self-imposed constraints on what you are capable of. So, with that I want to close. We have a tight program, and I want to mention that we have created a lot of spaces for conversation. You've seen the amphitheaters. Everyone seen the amphitheaters? No, not yet. Okay, you will. You have to learn how to express yourself much better than you do today. But more important, as Harpal will talk to you, is you have to listen to the right kind of things more effectively. So there's going to be over and above your solid foundation of computer science, where we expect many of you to do great stuff, for you to stretch your minds in different directions and then build memories while you're here, which will be memories that you remember. So all the best, and on my behalf and behalf of all our board members and founders, a very hearty welcome.